So today I thought we would look at a book together for the first time. I got this book sometime within the last couple of years. Then some crazy things happened and I never opened it up. But I mean, look at it. Antarctica and the Secret Space Program from World War II to the current space race. Now, this David Hatcher Childress guy, Childress, I'm not sure which, he has done a lot of books and they've all been a lot like this. I'm not going to say he's a total crackpot, but I am going to say that one might come to that conclusion based only on his book titles. Now, this isn't the craziest space title. This isn't the craziest book title ever. It's not the craziest book cover ever, but anytime you see kind of design like this, it's very indie, it's very pictures from all over the place. Not original art, sourced from somewhere else, kind of composited together, kind of gives you the idea that this is a 90s conspiracy theory website. Well, the book's probably going to be like that. But I haven't opened this book yet. So what could be in here? First of all, I want to see when this came out. So let me take a look at the info inside. This is copyright 2020. Looks like the first time it was printed. So David Hatcher Childress came out with this in 2020. For all I know, he's got a YouTube. Published by Adventures Unlimited Press in Kempton, Illinois. They have an email address from FrontierNet. That's cute. So how about this book? Which, by the way, does not look to be... If it's Create Space, then it doesn't have that thing where the back page is like it is, you know? And actually, no, the price code, the way the price code is, it's a Create Space printed book if the thing right here, sorry, it's backwards. If this says like 5 zeros here, then it's a Create Space book, but it's got actual numbers here. So this is a book that was actually published into like bookstores could pick this up a lot more easily. It's not just an Amazon only book. So and David Hatcher Childress, he's like been published a lot. So what's the back say? Did the Nazis create a third power in Antarctica and South America after World War II? David Childress, popular author and star of the History Channel show Ancient Aliens. Oh, wait, is this that guy? Is this that guy? Hold on, I'm getting onto the internet. Everyone, hold on. I'm getting onto the internet. Just hold on. We're looking. I've not. What if is this the Ancient Aliens guy? Cause like, he's kind of like my mentor at this point. It's like my hair is trying to become his hair. So I am loading up Firefox. David Hatcher Childress. What does this guy... Is he the guy? Is this the guy? Images. French-born American author. Doesn't have a photo of him on here. That's not right. That can't be it. No, he's not the guy. If it was the guy, they would show a photo of him. So he has been featured on Ancient Aliens. He is of that generation. So the Fate magazine of TV shows. David Childress, popular author and star of the History Channel show Ancient Aliens, brings us the incredible tale of Nazi submarines and secret weapons in Antarctica and elsewhere. He looks into the strange life and death of Rudolf Hess, as well as the mystery of James Forrestal and the secret group called MJ-12. He examines Operation High Jump led by Admiral Richard Byrd in 1947 and the battle that he apparently had in Antarctica with flying saucers. Through Operation Paperclip, the Nazis infiltrated aerospace companies, banking, media, and the U.S. government, including NASA and the CIA after World War II. All right. Citation needed. He reveals that the Nazis... Wait. This sounds like the MCU. This is what Hydra did. Right? This is what Hydra did with S.H.I.E.L.D.? He reveals that the Nazis had built secret bases in a variety of places, including during World War II, including Greenland, the Canary Islands, Tibet, and Antarctica. And China's doing nothing about Tibet? Sorry, I'm late. Childress discusses the secret U-boat fleet that patrolled the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans for decades after the war. He examines the secret German space program and its flying discs and tubular aircraft. The secret technology involved, including anti-gravity propulsion technology, underground and under ice bases, strange things happening in South America, and secret bases on the Moon and Mars. Childress looks at the possible merger of Nazi assets in Antarctica with the Americans and the use of Antarctica as a space base for traffic to secret space stations in orbit and below the surface of the Moon. This is all in the back of the book. The author reviews military space programs such as Solar Warden, Lunex, and Project Horizon. Does the U.S. Space Force have a secret space program that maintains huge ships in orbit around the Earth and employs hundreds of astronauts as crew for these vehicles? Question mark. Includes a 16-page color section. Well, let's go straight to that. It's really just... Is that an Easter Island head? Look, it's maps in color. Oh my gosh, so color photo. So that's supposed to be New Schwabia? Is that what? Little America. South Shetland Islands. An early German map of New Schwabenland. New Schwabenland. There's a swastika on this page. I'm not going to bother. It's just pictures of Antarctica and then a weird Nazi flag. It's like the flag of New Schwabenland as a German colony. I'm not even going to dignify it with being shown. There's some SS-looking stuff. There's some Nazi... Okay, I'll show you Nazi UFOs. These are supposed to be Nazi UFOs. This looks like stuff from a comic book. So, yeah. This is where we're starting. These are movie posters. These are movie posters. The Secret Land. I know I sound very dubious about that, and this is because look, these. I have always been dubious about UFO photos. They always look fake, and they don't even look like really good space vehicles of the time by Hollywood. And they don't look like the stuff that, the military was coming out with. So this is another set of photos in here. So what's he actually saying? Deutsche Antarctic Expedition. The specially designed badge or emblem of the Deutsche Antarctic Expedition of 1938 to 1939. The swastika and the oak leaves clearly reveal the involvement of the Thule Society. Oh, just so you know, the Thule Society is involved with this. They have like they put the little logo on the back here. It's right there. The Mystery of Rudolf Hess. The Mystery of James Forrestal. A Battle in Antarctica. Nazis from the Hollow Earth. Oh, we hit Hollow Earth. Okay, I'm going directly to the secret base in Tibet. That's chapter 6, 153. Sometimes I just read these books so you don't have to. Chapter 6, A Secret Base in Tibet. As we acquire knowledge, things do not become more comprehensible, but more mysterious. Will Durant. Oh, we're already in the rabbit hole. Let's go find Alice. Before moving on to the obvious places for the Black Fleet and remnants of the Third Reich to have retreated to their refuges in South America and Antarctica, let us look at some of the long-range German aircraft and some of the other locations to which these new planes might have flown. Both Henry Stevens and Joseph Farrell suggest that the Germans established a base in Tibet during the war and used it as a repository for technology and artifacts. Stevens says that by the term repositories, he means places where the Germans, particularly the SS, stashed high-value things for safekeeping after the war. These high-value things could be aircraft or flying discs or blueprints, artifacts of value in Nazi ideology, money, or even printing presses for making money. We have seen some alarming testimony about the laboratories and manufacturing facilities that were supposedly kept in Greenland for some years after the war had officially ended. Was there a secret base in Tibet as well? This base could not be reached by submarine and would need to be reached by long-range aircraft or even via flying disc. I'm gonna bet that there's a lot of, but you could do it by flying disc in this book. A secret German base in Tibet? As Stevens says, there is really no denying something going on between the Tibetans and the Nazis during the war. Sure, he said that. He goes on to say that we do not know how many expeditions were made to Tibet by the Germans, but we do know about the 1938-39 SS expedition to Tibet led by German zoologist and SS officer Ernst Schaefer. You know, if you're an SS officer and you're a zoologist, and we're talking about World War II, I think you introduce this person by saying that they're an SS officer and zoologist. And you may not even need to mention that they're a zoologist. I think that that's kind of beyond the point at this point. The Reichsfuhrer SS Heinrich Himmler wanted to use the reputation of Schaefer for Nazi propaganda and asked the zoologist about his future plans in 1937. The zoologist. Schaefer responded that he wanted to lead another expedition to Tibet. He had entered Tibet from China some years earlier. Himmler told the zoologist that he would like to fund the expedition and make it an official undertaking of the SS, Ancestral Heritage Society. British writer Christopher Hale, in his book Himmler's Crusade, The Nazi Expedition to Find the Origins of the Aryan Race, says that Himmler was fascinated by Asian mysticism and therefore wished to send such an expedition under the auspices of the SS. Also, Himmler desired that Schaefer perform research based on Hans Hoberger's pseudoscientific theory of glacial cosmogony, promoted by the Abernerb, on the Historical Society. However, Schaefer had scientific objectives and therefore refused to include Edmund Kiss, an adept of Hoberger's theory, in his team and required 12 conditions to ensure scientific freedom. Where are we going now? Christopher Hale observes that while the idea of Nazi botany or Nazi ornithology is probably absurd, other sciences are not so innocent. The Nazi zoologist, we are talking about the Nazi zoologist. This guy is talking about Nazi zoologists. Okay. Schaefer's small expedition represented a cross-section of German science in the 1930s. To Hale, this has considerable significance as under the Third Reich, anthropology and medicine were cold-bloodedly exploited to support and enact a murderous creed. I will not deny that. I just think the direction of this passage is weird. There are strong allegations, though never officially acknowledged, that one of the expedition's purposes was to determine whether Tibet was the cradle of the Aryan race. This was largely done by the taking of cranial measurements. Oh, great, we're in phrenology now. And the making of facial casts of local people. Oh, God. By the anthropologist Bruno Beger. Hale relates the existence of a secret warning issued by propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels to German newspapers in 1940, saying that the chief task of the Tibet expedition was of a political and military nature and had not so much to do with the solution of scientific questions, adding that the details could not be revealed. Sure, nothing about that is sus. Huh. Here's the 13th Dalai Lama of Tibet and Sir Charles Bell, both seated. And I just think that's interesting that we have that photograph. Obviously, the expedition was caught up in the politics of its time, and whenever the SS was involved, there was likely some military and technological purpose to the expedition as well. So, this is like a recap of other people's recaps in a way. According to a number of sources, on April 25th, 1945, a group of Russian soldiers entering Berlin discovered the dead bodies of 6 Tibetan monks in a circle, with the body of a 7th monk in the center. The dead man in the center was wearing a pair of bright green gloves. One of the Russian soldiers was a Mongolian, and he literally freaked out, dropping to his knees and praying to, or perhaps for, the dead monks. Over the next few weeks, the bodies of hundreds of Tibetan monks were found in the ruins of Berlin. All were said to have committed seppuku. What were these monks doing in Berlin, and how did they get there? It would have been difficult for these Tibetans to have come to Germany by sea, as they would. What is going on? I can't tell whether this is a real thing that happened or whether it's something that someone says is a real thing that happened that isn't a real thing that happened. So like the Secret Base in Tibet section is this is a lot of people writing history and saying it must have gone this way or maybe it went this way. Most of the book is really talking about it's like deep in history, the mystery of James Forrestal. If you've ever read any JFK conspiracy stuff, especially like the pre-90s stuff or the like mid to pre-90s stuff, then you'll kind of recognize how this is written. Alleged to be an actual photograph of a Hanabu 2 on the ground. Alleged to be an actual photograph. This is alleged to be an actual photograph. Allegations are fun journalism, I guess. So, I'm not sure if this contains any information that's actually valuable. I would have to look a lot further into it to really see, but it's so deep into the this government guy talked to this government guy, and then he gave a thing to this guy from this place, and this guy talked to this guy kind of stuff that I mean, if all those people weren't there, then what would be going on? Nothing. And so it's this is like kind of the type of book I don't usually prefer to get. Part of the reason why I got it was because it was actually in a lot of related books, like not really related. There were all kinds of different books in this lot. They were all like either spiritual or New Age, and or they had to do with UFOs. And this was one of them. I think there was like 8 or 10. So I'm glad I have it to have an example of what this literature is like. I'll probably look through it again at some point to see what are the specific conspiracy theories it's talking about. I just saw the words Masonic Templar, so I know that this is probably not going to be hugely accurate about anything. Oh, that was a very cute cat sound. So, as for the writing, it doesn't feel like the author is really helping you through this Byzantine thing. It doesn't feel like a lot of materials have been collected. So if you like collecting like different materials and different sources, he does credit his sources while in the middle of things. Like you can see who this is attributed to, who this is attributed to. There's a long bibliography back here. So like got our bibliography section in the back. If you are a collector of information about these topics, especially about World War II and Nazi alien flying saucers and them parking them in Tibet, then this is your book. If not, then you probably will be confused and maybe a little offended. I was hoping that this would be a little wackier, to be honest. It's pretty cut and dry. I say that, and I just opened it up to a spread where there's a UFO smashes through polar ice news clipping. Let's, while we're here, what is this from? "1966, an Australian magazine." Just says an Australian magazine. "Many naval experts are convinced that UFOs operate from bases deep beneath the ocean. The theory received a dramatic boost during the U.S. Navy's Operation Deep Freeze in the Antarctic. While crew members aboarded an icebreaker in Admiralty Bay watched amazed, an immense silvery craft smashed upward through thick ice and hurled into the night sky. According to the ship's log, the ice through which the bullet-shaped object sliced was at least 12 meters thick. Huge blocks of frozen seawater, hurled high into the air, came cascading down around the exit hole, in which the ocean boiled and spouted steam. The encounter was only one of hundreds reported between ships and UFOs in the past 40 years. So many saucers have appeared above seas around Australia that in 1966 the U.S. Navy sent a Professor McDonald here to study them. His findings about floating reefs and glowing globes of light seen plunging into Bass Strait, or Bass Strait, I'm not sure, have never been publicly released. So how do you know about them? But the sheer weight of evidence suggests that something very strange is going on beneath Australia's oceans. Many sea captains and their officers have reported seeing gigantic, seeming alien craft near their ships. A typical witness was Captain Julian Ardanza of the Argentine ship Naviero. While sailing off the Brazilian coast, he and his crew saw a huge glowing cigar on the starboard side. So that's kind of how things were being covered in 1966. They say an Australian magazine. I'm wondering if the magazine was called something like Psychic or Fate. Because that's the kind of reporting, the kind of magazine you'd have that kind of stuff reported in at the time. 1970s drawing of the incident at Admiralty Bay, although the craft was described more like a bullet or tubular craft than a pointed missile like this. 1970s drawing. I mean, they really do themselves a disservice by making it so science fiction, but it was the 1970s, and what are you going to do? So, if you're into UFOs and their connection to the military, this might be for you. There's a lot of stuff here. It's like an alleged photograph of a group of U.S. Navy spaceships from Solar Warden. An alleged photograph. This photograph is alleged. There's a lot of alleged stuff. So, I kind of feel like you could probably get similar information to this from the internet, but on the other hand, the internet is a pretty whacked out place to find information on anything that in any way has to do with conspiracies right now. So maybe I'm thinking of the internet from the 90s and early 2000s, where it was a lot easier to find the information you were looking for instead of some wacko going on a rant. Lot of visuals. Here's like a bunch of prototypes for, I guess this was going to be the Nazi space program stuff. But again, there's something going on. Like I just do not really trust a lot of this. I feel like the author is a little bit more willing to publish anything as long as it supports this kind of stuff. I mean, I could be wrong. Here's the German UFO craft plans. I just don't, something about that schematic combined with like that super old-fashioned typeface, just that drawing looks like it was made by a computer. It doesn't look like it was made by the drafting tools at the time. I think it would be a lot better if it were what they're saying it is. The angle's different on one side than the other, so it's just not an actual technical schematic. The measurements are off. It's not like it looks crooked in several places. That, if you're going to talk about German engineering, they were supposed to be good at stuff at this point, right? So why is all of this stuff just bad ovals? An alleged photo of the Vril priestess called Maria Orsic. This is an alleged photo. This entire book is alleged. I think that's the problem, is that this whole book feels like it's just implied or alleged to be a book. It's not really a real book. It could easily be debunked. Debunk! So I'll definitely look at another book by the same author in the future on this channel. I have a large book of like some kind of like survival for if the disaster happens kind of stuff. I don't quite recall, but I know it wasn't just UFOs. It was like a manual for some sort of things, a lot of different topics. So, different kind of book than this. I don't think I would get another book like this by him unless I was really interested in the specific topic it was about. And this just really isn't my area of expertise. I secret space program is like something I'm interested in, but like what really bothers me about this book is it's all about stuff that happened in the past and then what they presumed they would do with that stuff from the past in the next 30 years, and then all of the last 20 years have been entirely ignored, like 20, 25, 30 years. Everything from the 70s or 80s onward that happens in history is just completely not factored in to all of these like theory books on what happened to the Nazis since World War II. Are there secret Nazi bases somewhere? And that was something that people were asking in the 70s and 80s. And there was never really any resolution to that question. I understand that they're still like, pursuing those theories, but you have to ask at this point, what have you been doing in the last 20 years? What have they been doing in the last 20 years? Like, tell me about how Nazis are farming Bitcoin or something. Like, what are they? Where do they fit into the Ukraine situation? These are all things that are happening in our world right now that are part of our reality, and I don't see it factored into here. And this came out in 2020, so it wouldn't talk about Ukraine, but it would talk about a lot of like actual current recent events. There's like a lot of things happening in world politics involving Germany. That are very important, and this book pretty much ignores their entire existence and is just like assuming that it's been 10 years since World War II, and it just hasn't. So, um, yeah, I will give this a further look at some point whenever I'm probably looking into similar history that intersects with it. But I don't think it's a necessary addition to anybody's library unless they're really deep into the UFO stuff. And even then, there might be a better book for you to get on this topic. There's a lot of books that are referred to throughout this book that might be better books to consult. Now I will say that the bibliography in the back does look pretty interesting, and there are a lot of books that were published in the last 10 years that are listed here. So, I do appreciate that there are some leads here that I can pursue on my own and do my own private research if I wish to. But I'm pretty sure that Hitler is all the way dead, and there are not secret Nazis in South America, and that there are instead people who live in South America doing things in South America like they want to do. And sorry, I'm very distracted by some of these books titles. Adolf Hitler and the Secrets of the Holy Lance, Hitler's Ashes, Dark Star, The German Saucer Story, We Want You. Is Hitler still alive? No. He's not. There's other things in the world that are going on right now that are a lot more important than trying to figure that one out. I think we can kind of say that Adolf Hitler being dead is settled science. Now, is there anything else here that we can get? Is there anything else of interest? A Nazi flag ceremony in New Schwabenland. So they do have a photograph of like three guys standing around with a swastika flag in a snowy looking place, but again, it's really hard to say whether or not that really means anything because they're not saying who's in the photograph and when it is. So you can't research this because there's not enough details. Just really frustrating. I will say that sometimes learning the basic gist of what people are kind of putting in these books, like learning like the base topics is good, because if I like ran into a conspiracy theorist who was talking about similar things, I would have more of an idea of what they were on about. But the problem is I just don't think that this stuff is ever going to lead somewhere. I think it's just going to sell more books. So, am I going to buy those books? No. You can buy them if you want. Tell me how it went.